And you're all set to start.
Bear with me for a minute, please. Good morning, everyone. This is the inaugural meeting of 2026 for the Government Operations Committee. We have a lot of new members here. I think Greg Mezey is the only returning member from Government Operations. So we have a lot to learn from the people who have been doing all the work for Government Operations. We'll call the meeting to order. Okay. Is the first on the agenda, my computer's slow to come up. Is the first thing on the agenda for public comment?
Yes.
Okay. I have public comment. Tom Wright is here to speak. Tom, you've spoken before, and so you know the rules of the legislature, and you have 3 minutes, and take it away.
Okay, so years ago there was a local money called the Ithaca Hours, and at the time I did use some of the Ithaca Hours and transferred, earned them and spent them, and it offered me an enhancement of survival while I was laid off from union work, union labor. But it had no official standing or backing. It was totally voluntary. So when Randy Brown was running for legislature, he had a specific proposal to give rebates to EMS personnel and volunteer firemen. And I thought that was a good idea all by itself, but I also thought it would be, if that was applied as a currency or a check that could be transferred from hand to hand for goods or services, that would be a local money that would have the backing of the County of Tompkins, because the County of Tompkins would accept it for any fee, service, tax, fine, any debt to the County of Tompkins. You could use that currency for, and that would give that local money an opportunity to be accepted broadly, even by, say, a big box store like Wakeman's, because I'm sure they pay local taxes. So the purpose of that is, hopefully, it would just be to help you get to know maybe a neighbor who sells honey or does handiwork or something. But unfortunately, in these times, I'm looking at providing some local resilience in the face of worldwide labor competition, because it's so cheap to transport things. So that's about it. I'm looking at the possibility of turning a rebate into a transferable currency, if you will, that could enhance neighborliness and the local economy and overall resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you continuing to bring this up. I know that we've discussed a lot in the legislature how to support the firemen and rescue people who are volunteering out there quite a bit and spending a lot of time on it, and the cost for them continues to go up as well, so thank you. Next on our agenda is minutes approval for December 4th, 2025. Can I get somebody to move that? Judith, and second by Adam. And we need to do a roll call on these votes. So we'll start off with Greg Mezey.
Yes.
Judith?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes.
All right, and myself, yes. Okay. All right, they're approved. Next thing we're looking at on the agenda is appointments. And we have a couple, and I want to thank Judith for sending out an email on that for us. We have two sets here. The first one is for the Tompkins County Historical Commission, which term expires December 31st, 2007. And Rachel is,
Other one.
I'm sorry?
Rachel was the other one.
Rachel would be for the History Center. Historical Commission is something different.
Okay, so there's two, so there's the Tompkins County History Center is what Rachel is currently
Yes.
volunteering for.
Yes.
And so that one is up for vote? Is that what we have to do for that?
We would need a representative for the Tompkins County Historical Commission, and then Rachel will be put to the Tompkins County History Center seat, and then you'll vote on both.
Okay. So, so there's two positions here, and they're related. They meet actually at the same time, apparently, and at the same place.
The History Center and the History Center for Arts and Culture. The History Center for Arts and Culture was a chair's appointment, and that was chosen by Rachel Osland. And the History Center meets at the same time as that. So I still need a representative for the Historical Commission, which will typically meets in chambers, but are looking for a new space.
Okay, so we have no one currently for the Tompkins County Historical Commission.
Correct.
And Rachel didn't volunteer for that one, too?
No.
Okay, appreciate that. So for now, we can appoint the Tompkins County History Center.
Yes. Yep.
Can I get somebody to make a motion for that?
Would, if I may, Dan, are you volunteering for the Historical Commission?
I wanted to know what the schedule for that was.
So, because we just chose a new historical commissioner, he's actually waiting for a legislator to be selected to work with the legislator for the meeting time and schedule.
Can I ask, what's the difference between the Historical Commission and the History Center?
So Historical Commission is a commission of all of the local municipal historians. They usually meet here, they talk about projects to do, whereas the History Center is a county-owned building, and it's something that we provide our funds for, so they're more budgetary and more tourism down on the commons. One's internal and one's external is the way that I see it.
So Dan, are you interested in the Historical Commission position?
That wasn't why I had my hand up, but, I mean, we need to fill several positions, so, the other one that I see here was the library one that might be interesting too, but either way, I can do whatever.
Okay.
It is okay to leave the seat blank for now, and it can go to the legislature next, and we can open up to all members.
Okay.
It sounded to me like Dan was volunteering, though.
Well, if Dan would like to take the library seat, I would also appreciate that, so.
I would be happy to take the library seat.
Take it. Give her the library.
Okay. So we're moving ahead here. I'm not quite sure how to do this. So for the Tompkins County History Center, Rachel has volunteered for that, correct? So do we have to vote on that?
So I would say let's remove the Historical Commission from the appointments today, as long as there's no objections.
Okay.
We will move that to the legislature for all members, and we'll vote for Rachel on the History Center
Right now or for the full legislature?
right now.
Okay. So does somebody have to move that?
Real quick, sorry. Do we have to vote on the library board seat too at the same time?
Nope, that's a liaison, so that's something that needs to be selected and announced by Randy. in the next portion of the agenda.
Got it. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
Jump right in anytime, Greg. So so right now, a motion to appoint Rachel, is it Oslin? Okay, to the Tompkins County History Center. Adam first and second by Judith. And do a roll call?
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
Greg Mezey,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now with the Tompkins County Historical Commission that Dan Wakeman is volunteering for, do we go through that same process for that now?
Dan, are you volunteering, or would you like to move to the whole legislature?
Question here. I see on the next page, we've got the Public Information Advisory Board. What is that?
Monica?
Monica? Hi. Can you give just a brief overview of Public Information Advisory Board?
So we meet monthly, and it's a board that is made up of 7 individuals, some from former media, some from Cornell, and there is 1 legislative representative, and we meet monthly, and we basically talk about how we could, as a county, improve our relationships with the media, but then also how we could get our information out in different ways. And this year, specifically, we're talking about how can we contribute to the 250th anniversary, and talk a little bit about the history of journalism and newspapers, and how information was historically distributed in this county. So we meet actually this afternoon. So it's the second Tuesday of the month at different places.
Thank you, Monica.
You have a preference, Dan, or?
Thank you for asking, Randy. I'm sorry, I was just looking at my calendar here. Either would work for me. I don't want to do both.
I don't blame you.
So,
What sounds more interesting to you?
how about I join Monica, and do the liaison for the public information?
Okay. Okay, so is there anybody here that's interested in the Tompkins County Historical Commission? I guess we'll push that one to the full legislature and see how that goes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Randy, we might want to ask Lee directly, too, if he has any interest in that, based on his, I think, being the youngest historian in Tompkins County at some point in his life. I don't know if he'd be interested, but we can maybe reach out to him or the rest of the legislature.
Great, we'll do that. Thanks, Greg. Okay, now we're on to Government Operations Committee liaisons. The first one is the Public Information Advisory Board. Dan Wakeman is volunteering for that. Mm-hmm. Do we vote on that as well?
Nope, you just announce it.
Okay, so Dan, you're it for the
Thank you.
public, and thank you for doing that. And for the Tompkins County Public Library Board of Trustees, Judith, is that something you're interested in?
Yes, I'm a very regular user of the library. My children are also, and I have been since I was a small child, so I would be very interested to be more involved.
I think that's a really important position. The county provides a lot of funding to that, I think about $4.5 million a year to the library, and they're going through a lot of good changes, so thank you for doing that. So Judith Hubbard will now be the Tompkins County Public Library Board of Trustees representative for us. Thanks for walking me through that. Okay, now we're on to the chair's report, which we already started part of that. And it was the Government Operations Committee liaisons, which we finished that, correct?
I also do have a resolution under appointments 13812 for appointments to the Council of Governments.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. You're right.
Okay.
So this is Resolution 13812 for approval of appointment Tompkins County Council of Governments. And is somebody currently assigned to that?
So it will be Shauna Black as the delegate and Deborah Dawson as the alternate. Historically, it's the chair and vice chair of the legislature.
Okay, so, which is great. So do we have to vote on that here?
Yes.
Okay. So can I get somebody to move that?
So moved.
Dan Wakeman, seconded by Judith. And roll call, please.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
Greg Mezey,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes.
Okay, Jordan, just keep stepping right in. Now we're on to the chair's report, correct?
Yes.
And we've completed the 2016 or 2026 Government Operations Committee liaisons. We finished with that?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. And now we're on to a resolution approval of the 2025 order of succession of members of the county legislature serve in the absence of the chair and vice chair.
If I may correct, 2026. That is,
You're right.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry.
you don't need to be sorry. That's on me, Randy.
Okay, well, I should have read that. And I believe we already have this in place, don't we? I mean, or is this done every year?
It's done annually in accordance with the charter.
Okay. Adam, go ahead.
How is this order chosen for the legislators?
It was done through this committee, I believe.
This order for this was a recommendation of the chair of the legislature.
Okay.
And that's where the names were put in there.
Thank you.
And then we vote on this as a full legislature. Okay, so I need somebody to move this resolution 13824. Judith, seconded by Adam. Any discussion on this? Adam, do you have any comments about this?
I'm not opposed to this order. I was just wondering.
Okay. Okay, and we'll do a roll call.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
Greg Mezey,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes.
I'm scanning through my computer, apologize. Okay, as far as the chair's report, I'm not going to, actually, I will say a few things. First of all, anybody that attends the meeting here is welcome to come up to the legislature table. There's a lot of seats here. You're more than welcome to be part of the group. I don't know a lot about government operations other than what I heard from Amanda for 4 years. I know that a lot of work has been done and a lot of organizational changes and a lot of policy changes and updates, which were sorely needed. So I appreciate all the work that was done in that. And frankly, I had no concerns with the government operations because I thought that it was well managed going forward. My thought on government operations is that I personally have a lot to learn. I don't clearly know what all the functions of government operations are. And we have a lot of new members as well, which we all have a lot to learn. So you're not going to step on anybody's toes when you correct us. I've explained to people throughout my life, it's very difficult to make me mad. Feel free to correct me at any time. because I've also learned that I'm rarely the smartest person in the room. So you learn that as you get older. So but I think that the goal for me is to make this a collaborative, and to really have us look at government operations and learn from the staff, what you're doing, what you feel your priorities are, because you certainly know what they are, and to educate us and to help us come together as a group to determine what we feel are important and what we would like to see priorities if they're not already there. I look at government operations should be a focus on efficiency. And I look at government operations as they're the front face, the people who are working a lot with the public, and understanding the best way to provide those services to them. But I want to have this as an open relationship. Again, feel free to come up and sit and stand. If you're speaking, please do come to a microphone, and guide us where you think it's the most important thing for us to be. We talked about this in the Budget and Capital meeting a little bit yesterday, and with human resources. And one of my personal goals is going to be to figure out how to make us more efficient, how to embrace technology, how to really slow down the growth of staff. We've grown our staff a lot because we've identified all these services that continue to grow. The number of services we're providing as an organization continues to grow. The number of people requiring and needing those services continues to grow. But we can't continue to grow government because we're going to have to cut somewhere. And we know that as we go through budget processes that difficult decisions are made. And I'd like us to plan for those. So that's my chair's report. Now we're going to go on to a resolution, a delegation of authority to authorize certain tax refunds and credits of $2,500 and under ID number 13823. And can I get somebody to move that? Dan, seconded by Judith. Any discussion? I'm going to ask questions as I go along. Is this a typical thing we do every year?
This is a standard annual resolution, yes.
Okay. Yes, Judith.
How long has the limit for authorization been $2,500? Has it changed over time?
It has not changed in the past 10 years. I don't know how far, I can look into that and let you know how far back that.
And do you know how often it's applied?
I am not certain how often that's applied.
We issued a resolution yesterday at Budget Capital to allow for certain refunds of under $500 that would not have to come to the legislature, but it would be for things like solid waste fee reimbursements, so that it's a decision made by administration. And I think that was a typical one we've done in the past as well.
This one aligns with that one.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure I understand what this does. This is for if we make a mistake.
Yes.
And we need to correct it, that correction, if the mistake is under $2,000 or equal to or less than $2,500, then somebody is the county director of assessment is able to transmit the correction recommendation to the county administrator, and it doesn't have to come to us at all. It just happens efficiently, one hopes. This saves time. And there haven't been any problems with that, I'm assuming.
No,
It seems fine to me.
Do the tax refunds go through finance? Is that how it works? It goes through administration, then you guys cut a check? Is that how it works? Or?
I would imagine since all checks do flow through us, at some point it does, but we don't, finance doesn't make the decision, and I can verify later what part we play in that.
Adam?
How often do we have to use this?
I think this would be a better question for the Director of Assessment. So, I mean, we can reach out to him and find out some answers to this, but he's the one who provides the report that goes to administration.
Any other comments or questions? Let's do a roll call.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
Greg Mezey,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we're moving right along here. So now we're, Judith and I met, and we talked about department goals, and so our thought was that each department just come and educate us as to what your focus is for 2026, but also understand that most of us don't really understand everything that you do. So it's more of an educational thing. It doesn't have to really be the defined goals that are in stone for 2026, but if each department, and Burnett, maybe if you want to start us off, that'd be great. Just to come on up, sit at the table, use a microphone, and just give us 5 or 10 minutes of what you're doing, maybe what your challenges are, and what support you need from the legislature would be great.
Thank you, Randy, and good morning. So as you can see by the goals submitted on behalf of County Administration does cover a wide breadth of areas across county operations. We took a stab at including at least 1 or 2 goals per area of which County Administration has oversight of. So you can see more broadly, we have a lot of focus on our strategic operations plan, of which you'll get an update after we have an opportunity to discuss all departmental goals. This is the guiding document that was adopted in 2024. It's a 5-year plan that specifically outlines goal priority areas and objectives within those priority areas. And in county administration, we're really making a strong attempt to make sure most of the decisions within the county, whether it's fiscal, operational, staffing, are the impact of which will be to drive forward the work that's outlined in the plan. So that should really be our guiding document, and we continue to identify objectives that will better integrate elements of the plan throughout our decision making. So that's sort of the guiding light, if you will. And then from there, you'll kind of see throughout the goals that are listed, we had adopted what we called key performance indicators over the last couple of years. So really moving all departments into this framework by which they're collecting, analyzing, and reporting on data that really informs decision making. So at the end of last year, we were proud to release sort of a dashboard where all of those KPIs are captured and regularly updated that is accessible to all of you as legislators. So that's something we'll continue to improve upon. And then in the near future, we hope to launch a more public-facing dashboard that will capture KPIs and our progress in our strategic operations plan. So just moving through the goals themselves, you can see the various areas that county administration covers, whether it's employee health and safety, working closely with our HR and our county attorney departments to progress through labor agreements, administrative policy updates. We have a couple on our agenda today. The GO committee has the privilege of being the committee that has to approve all administrative policy updates and new policies. So you'll see all of those come through this committee. That's work that begins in county administration's department. We're consistently, speaking to Randy, your point, we're consistently looking for ways to improve operational efficiencies, primarily through technology. We did adopt the OpenGov budgeting software system a couple of years ago, and we continue to identify modules that can improve the efficiency across the organization. So procurement is one of those modules we've been working very hard on, which will include an element for e-signature, which will greatly streamline a lot of our county contracting processes. All county contracts do flow through the county administrator's office as well. We continue to support departments in some of the critical needs that we have in the county and the major initiatives to include emergency sheltering, our rapid medical response program. We know that the Office of Human Rights requires some attention this year, so we'll be putting a lot of work into assessing what the needs are and how best to move that department forward. In terms of legislative priorities, we do have a minimum wage study that we're in the process of contracting with a selected consultant, so that will kick off this year. And as you can see in goal number 11, we have a series of legislative working groups that have been outlined by the chair that county administration will play a kind of key role in coordinating. Moving down through, you can see the work that we do in terms of the budget development. 20-year capital plan will be in the works. We'll continue to monitor and report on our ARPA funding. And we'll also be closely looking at the funded agencies and how we can better align the information that we're receiving from them and report on the data that's collected on the work that we're doing to best align that work with the work of our departments. We'll be onboarding a new Chief Equity and Diversity Officer in the very near term, which is very exciting. And then in terms of our communication support, you can see Monica here under her leadership will be supporting departments in their communications, continue to support the legislature communications, working with our local media, updating our county website, continuing to offer support in departmental social media. And then the America 250th anniversary celebration will be coming forward, as Monica alluded to. And then we're just continuing to really focus on that data publication and really developing a community engagement and public information strategy. So those are the goals before us. As I mentioned, it kind of covers a wide array across the county's operations. I'd be happy to take any questions or comments on those goals. But county administration does have a part to play in essentially every component of the county's operations. So I hope I did an okay job of summarizing some of the areas that we focus on.
Thanks, Bridget. Any questions or comments? Yes, Judith.
Thank you. I was wondering about number 9, the Office of Human Rights. What committee does that process go through?
Health and Human Services.
Okay. And then I also was wondering, I know that the Sheriff's Department has a transparency portal. Is that part of the Open Gov system, or is it something separate?
That's a separate portal. So our Sheriff's Department and our Probation Department, as well as our District Attorney, have chosen to do a separate dashboard through a separate software.
And does administration help decide what gets published on those dashboards, or is it entirely internal?
So specific to those departments or overall?
Those departments.
They decide what gets published. The district attorney and the sheriff decides what gets published, and then probation, because it reports to county administration, we work together with them to determine what data gets published.
Any other questions by anybody or comments? Let me comment. Thank you for this report. A lot of pages and a lot of things. And I know the administration's involved in everything that the county does. And this is very helpful. So thank you for that and making it concise. I would encourage everybody to read this and so that when those issues come up, we'll understand where they belong. So any other comments from anybody? Okay, thank you, Bridget.
Thank you.
And next on the list, I believe, was assessment, but I believe that Jay is traveling, correct? So we'll save Jay for March. Okay. Unless anybody else has any comments on that. Do you want to comment at all? Or?
No, but I do know Jay will be here for a full report in March, so you can absolutely bring your questions in.
Just for the new legislatures, they started implementing a new software program in 2025. and it's speaking, it's online, it's a huge improvement. The software they were using was over 30 years old and was falling apart and not supported, and they got grants for it, and it's going to be a big improvement. And they've been doing a lot of updating of all the files electronically. I've been on the website, and it's a huge improvement. So, but we'll talk about that at a later date. Next on the list is the Board of Elections. Would you guys like to come up? And when you please announce your names and go from there.
I'm Steve DeWitt. I'm the Democratic Commissioner of Elections.
Alana Congdon, the Republican Commissioner.
Great. Thank you guys for being here. And feel free to jump right in and talk about what you guys are doing and what you need from us.
Want to start?
Okay, we've outlined 6 goals for the year. The first one is to continue to run fair and transparent elections in Tompkins County.
Bring your microphone closer to you. There you go. There you go. Yeah, if it wants to.
To continue to run fair and transparent elections in Tompkins County. To communicate to the voters, there are many options for voting, whether it's be in person or by mail. To improve the Board of Elections website so voters can find needed information quickly and easily. Build upon our training portal on our website that our poll workers can access so that they can brush up on their training. And develop strategies for attracting and retaining poll workers, and conduct an I voted and future voter sticker contest for local students to participate in. And I think one more I'd like to add that we're going to be working on this year is to try to communicate to voters what we do to make sure that our elections are safe and secure and transparent.
Thank you. Lana, would you like to add to that? Or?
Yeah, I'm just, one of the things I'm looking for from the Ledge is the living wage study, just what the outcome of that is. Because our poll worker pay is tied to the living wage, so I think that question will be coming up at some point with our poll workers.
Okay. Yeah, I know we, 2 years ago, I believe we increased the poll worker wages. Maybe it was 3 years ago, I've lost track now, but still it's well below. And it's a tough job. It's a 16, 17 hour a day job. I have friends that do that, and most of them aren't young. So they're really volunteering their time in many ways. Any questions at all for the board? Yes, Judith.
Just want to say how great our sticker contest is. My daughter did not win last year. I don't know if she's eligible to even try this year, but I think it's a much-loved tradition that really does bring elections into, you know, the whole community, including the children.
Could you share with us the different ways that people can register to vote?
The paper form, they can bring it into the office. They can do it online through DMV or through the DMV and the online voter registration. You can do it through agencies like the workforce, right? Did I miss any?
You said the state portal, online portal?
Oh, the state board online, yeah, the online voter registration, yes.
Yeah.
So I know at the Newfield at Home Days, I noticed that they have an opportunity for people to come register there, like a table they set up. Mm-hmm. So in that process, do they just fill out the form and then the forms get returned? Is that how that works?
Yes, and last year, or 2 years ago, actually, Dominic created a card for us. So now when they have their voter registration drives, we hand them a card. There's a QR code on the card if it's easier for the voter or the person registering to vote. So they can just do it on their phone if they want to. Okay. There's options when they do that.
Judith?
Are there any efforts to reach the populations at Cornell and Ithaca College who may not ever have registered to vote anywhere, or may have recently moved and be eligible to re-register here? Like, what do we do to try to make that easier for those populations?
Well, I believe that both parties do reach out to, the two major parties do reach out to Cornell. They have groups on campus that help a lot with registering people to vote. Certainly any requests that we get from the student community for anything we can do to facilitate their efforts, we do.
What about voter rolls? I mean, how, as somebody who's gone through them and looked at them, the database is an unlimited number of rows long. I mean, it's, and because of all the data and when they voted and all those things. How often does that get analyzed to see if people are still in those locations, or if somebody hasn't voted in 10 years, is that how things change, or how do you guys manage the database?
Well, it's a constant process, but every year in February we get notice from the post office, the U.S. Postal Services, to address changes that they're aware of, and we can update the address of the voter based on that. Every May we send out a mail check card to every registered voter in the county, and if they come back to us as undeliverable or with a forwarding address, we can make those changes in our database. A person that registers to vote and never votes, we can't do anything about it unless we get an official notice from an agency or post office or Department of Health, Department of Corrections. There's all there's a lot of different ways we can get the information, but we can't just do it on hearsay. Somebody comes in and says, and we get these people come in and they say that my family member is really not fit to vote anymore. We can't take them off the rolls. We can only do that with a judicial order. So there's very strict guidelines that are set out in election law as to how we go about keeping our database up to date. I think to the extent that we get the information, it's up to date.
Is it 2 federal elections? If they're inactive for 2 federal elections, then they get purged?
Once a voter is put into inactive status, if they go if there's 2 federal elections go by where they do not vote or show up in our system, then we can purge them.
And could you just update us on what elections you're going to be managing this year?
Yeah, we're starting out with village elections on March 18th for 4 villages: Trumansburg, Groton, Dryden, and Cayuga Heights. And then in April, we do a village election in Lansing. May, we work with the several school districts across the county to help them with their elections. Get into June, I'm pretty certain we're going to have a primary this year, countywide primary. Can't tell you for which parties because we won't know that until around April, early April. And then you get into November, we have the November election.
So is the county supplying the voting machines to the schools?
Yeah.
I know it was a problem for them for a lot of years, so I think it's a good service to provide, so.
Yeah, we supply machines, but we do not supply them with our electronic poll books.
Right.
They manage the poll books themselves.
Right.
Because they're actually running the elections. We're just facilitating, helping.
Any other questions? Yes, Judith?
For the federal elections, there's this long period of early voting, right, with specific locations where you can go to early vote. How do you decide where to have those locations?
Well, there's criteria to start with. They have to be ADA compliant. Based on our population, we're required to have a minimum of 2, or voting population, we're required to have a minimum of 2 sites. And we have been, the 2 sites that we've used for several years now, and the voters seem to like it. You have the Town of Ithaca Town Hall downtown, and then up by the airport, you have the CFR conference room, and they both routinely turn out very similar number of voters for early voting. So it's, unless there's, the demand is more, I think we're comfortable with the 2 sites we have now.
You said there's a minimum of 2, so we could theoretically have more than 2.
Theoretically, yes.
Is it a cost limitation?
Well, it does cost more money for each site you have. I haven't seen the demand there yet. People saying, I wish, you'd put one out here in Trumansburg. I think if we got that kind of a request, we'd have to weigh it out as to cost, is it cost effective enough to do that? But it's possible that down the road, if early voting got, very, very popular, and 2/3 of the voters voted by early voting, then we probably would look at adding a site. I mean, right now you're getting, in a presidential year, you get about 1/4 of the voters vote early.
Well, thank you. Any more questions or comments? Well, great. Thank you guys very much. I've learned something, so this is great.
Thanks.
Next up is the county attorney, Maury Josephson.
All right. I actually did have a question for Stephen. Early voting applies to both state and federal elections, state, local, and federal elections, or is it all elections have early voting?
Well, it doesn't apply to village. But yeah, any primary or general or special election applies.
Okay. Whether it's federal or not, because I know Judith asked her question about in relation to federal elections. All right, the county attorney's office, or as the charter refers to it, the county department of law. First, as to myself as the county attorney, I have some local roots, like at least one other member of the legislature now. I'm a graduate of the ILR school. Went to Cornell. Have family in the area from back around the turn of the 20th century, and am I'd like to think of a well-seasoned, very savvy general counsel. Just as a reminder of where the county attorney, I'm coming up on my 2nd anniversary, and I'm very proud of the work that the county attorney's office has been doing. When I joined the office, there was one deputy county attorney filling in as acting county attorney and one paralegal. They were barely treading water in terms of the legal work of the county, and I'm happy to say, not suggesting perfection, but that we have a nicely functioning General Counsel's office that basically practices in 4 areas. The 4 areas would be our advisory, litigation, civil, litigation, prosecutorial, and public records. The advisory function takes up the bulk of my time. Let me tell you about the people in the county attorney's office first before I talk about who does what. And that's me, Holly Mosier, the deputy county attorney, who you'll see periodically at meetings covering for me and commenting on things that are within her particular areas of expertise. And those principally are in the field of juvenile justice, juvenile prosecutions, adult treatment court, those things, other civil litigation, tax enforcement litigation, and Department of Health, youth tobacco, and enforcement initiatives of those kind. Adina Boateng is a newly hired assistant county attorney who is supporting us both on the advisory side and the litigation sides. We have Erin Murphy, who is her title, and her title is something we're working on, is secretary, paralegal and secretary to the county attorney, but she's really a program manager. I mean, she is, runs our office on in terms of day-to-day operations, and is principally responsible for our public records fulfillment operation. And a new paralegal aide, Shane Bergen, who staffs the front desk and supports everything that we do in the office with a smile. As to the legal functions, we have the advisory function, which is basically, for the legislature and for departments, interpreting rules, regulations, judicial decisions, providing updates, providing actionable advice based on all of those things, providing written and verbal opinions on courses of action and the risks, the merits and risks of alternative policy choices as a legal matter, and being able to do that quickly and accurately in stressful situations. It could be, within the course of a single meeting that type of things happens. And we're an integral part of the county leadership team responsible for implementing the legislature's policy choices in accordance with law. And occasionally, which doesn't necessarily make us too many friends necessarily on the legislature or in the departments, sometimes we have to say that initiative just won't fly legally. It's sometimes a tough position to be in, but that is our function. And we're doing as much as we can to avoid those types of situations by catching them ahead of time, before a proposal is made or an initiative is pursued that has negative legal implications to it. On the litigation side, we defend all civil litigation brought against the county, either ourselves or with the assistance of outside counsel. We do, a lot of our litigation work is also done in connection with the Romer Wallens law firm, which is our labor counsel, because much of our civil litigation is employment related, so it's within their area of expertise, and in fact mine, because before becoming a general municipal counsel, I was a labor and employment litigator, which it's interesting, having been a litigator for several decades, to now be in an advisory role, which is really actually quite wonderful. We also sue on behalf of the county. We're suing to collect room tax from one particularly errant hotel operator. We have other types of litigation initiatives like that in the works, as well as a civil litigation initiative to pursue landlord remedies against illicit cannabis operators. I know that one has been slow on the uptake. It's very hard to get a consistent pattern of illicit sales established, but we are working on that. We handle all juvenile prosecutions in the county, and handle adult treatment court. That's an extremely difficult set of endeavors. The kids that are involved in the juvenile justice system, often the cases and the facts are truly heartbreaking, and it's difficult to try and get some of these respondents on the right track. So as to public records, this actually gets us into our goals for the year. So I'll segue into those. We are planning to go live with the new Freedom of Information Law software package in the middle of March. We're training up on that within our office now, and then we will provide training to the departments who have to, are principally responsible for digging up information that is responsible to Freedom of Information Law requests. We have another is stepping up environmental health and cannabis enforcement. So with respect to environmental health, that's youth tobacco. With respect to tort claims against the county, with the addition of Adina to staff, we can pursue more pre-litigation examinations of those claimants. We don't have to, they're referred to as 50H examinations. It's sort of a free extra deposition. We frequently don't have the bandwidth to do those, but we have those on an increasing level, and to a large extent, those examinations would help flag cases for early settlement. Luckily, many of the claims that the county receives are made and then do not result in formal litigation. We have a lot of work to do in the procurement area. It's a multi-headed hydra right now. We're focused on TCAT procurement, but there are, a bunch of, it's mostly a finance function, but there are several legal aspects of procurement that we'd like to get addressed and get the policies updated this year. Same for the contracting process. When, particularly given the prior service model, which was much more limited than the service model I see our office offering, we had little involvement in the contracting process unless there was a dispute. And it became apparent over the course of last year that there needs to be much more involvement at the beginning of the contracting process through drafting to avoid disputes and issues with, with information to the legislature and things like that. And that's something that Corsa and I are coordinating very well together. We have a serious juvenile detention issue, which is, it's difficult. We talk about it all the time. I think we need to just, we need to continue collaborating with the sheriff, the Department of Social Services, and with county administration. But when the family court orders a juvenile into secured detention, we have no place to put them. We have no acceptable place to put them, put it that way. They are placed in the custody of the sheriff's department, but the sheriff's department can't place them in the jail. So we end up in a situation where interview rooms or conference rooms are used where one or two deputies has to sit with the juvenile at all times, resulting in significant overtime expense. Of course, there's the expense of securing a bed, so it's a constant balancing. And the other goal is to continue, advancing existing and long-term policy and legislative initiatives. Those are, shelter development, real property issues as they come up. If you may recall, we had, lots of issues and discussions surrounding the closing on 31 Dutch Mill Road. We'll continue working through those types of things. We are now stepping in a significant way into land use and environmental matters. And of course, we'll be supporting the upcoming labor contract negotiations. So those are our goals, and that last one is near and dear to my heart, being the former ILR student. I did, in terms of report, I wanted to give you a sense of, a lot of what we do, the full legislature and the public don't really know about it because it's done behind a veil of privilege, and it's hard to get into the details. But since the beginning of this year, I've made a list of 40 substantive inquiries that our office has received from since January 1st from a combination of legislators and departments, and those include significant questions from public safety, from Peak, from the legislature overall concerning some open meetings law issues, for various contracting issues relating to the Center of Government project, TCAT, particularly TCAT procurement, land use issues, Department of Social Services has a bunch of issues concerning the shelter and different aspects of sheltering operations. The Department of Whole Health, and a department that does a huge amount of work and also requires a significant amount of legal resources, which is HR. And of course, not to mention administration, which has questions, issues, et cetera, every day.
Thank you, Maury. Any questions from anybody? Guest Judith.
Thank you. I have some questions about these numbered items that you provided, which I appreciate. So for cannabis enforcement, are you talking about like sticker shops or sort of individual sales? And also for a while there was a billboard that somebody placed on the road next to my house saying you could call this number and get cannabis delivered straight to your home. Is that sort of under the category of this?
Yes. I mean, there's there's a range of issues, and for that range of issues, there's a range of processes and remedies, none of which is particularly satisfactory. And a lot of the reason why it's not particularly satisfactory is the lack of support for enforcing cannabis regulations from the Office of Cannabis Management on the state level. For some things, what the state did kindly is say, well, if you're not happy with our level of enforcement, you can adopt a local law and you can take that on for us. Or you can pursue the landlords. In our situation, we decided to pursue the landlords because adopting a local law that mirrors the content of state cannabis regulation would entail building out an enforcement enforcement infrastructure and initiative that would be enforced in combination between the Sheriff's Department, the DA's office, and my office, and there's just it became apparent in discussing this, particularly last year, that there just wasn't the bandwidth to adopt such a local law. There's also a landlord remedy, which enables us to effectively flag illicit cannabis operations, principally sticker shops, fixed brick and mortar locations. And if we can establish regular and habitual use of the premises to sell cannabis without a license, we have the authority to demand that the landlord evict the tenant, and if the landlord does not proceed to evict the tenant, the county can step into the landlord's shoes and pursue eviction proceedings against the tenant. That's what we've been doing, and we've been doing that in coordination with the City of Ithaca because first of all, the city attorney's office has additional resources to be able to attack the issue, number one, and number two, most of the illicit operations are within the City of Ithaca. So there have been undercover individuals who've been making buys at the sticker shops. I'll refer to it generally in that vernacular. The difficulty is, establishing a consistent pattern, because you could go one day and say, I'd like to buy thus and so, and the clerk will sell it to you, and then on another day, the same person goes, no, we don't have anything. So it's arduous, but we're getting there, and I recognize it's taken a long time, and some of the legitimate operators would like to see that go quicker, and we fully understand that, and want to get some of those some of those cases going.
And are there any financial penalties that help us cover our costs for this, that we can apply?
Not really. If we used outside counsel to do it, we could perhaps recover attorney's fees. But it would really just be covering the out-of-pocket costs. Under New York state law, if you represent yourself, typically you're not eligible for an attorney's fee award. So let's say I put 100 hours into a cannabis case, we couldn't take the hourly equivalent of my salary and say, we'd like this money. Because if you choose to represent yourself, which is what I'm supposed to, I'm supposed to represent the county, or my office is supposed to represent the county, then you're not eligible for a fee award. So no, it would just be because the county would be expending its resources to do that. The third thing is the type of operation that you're talking about, the billboard, the person dealing out of their house with a wink and a nod. Unfortunately, the best we can do with those is to complain to OCM and see if we can get them to come out. So in fact, we have been we've been, and another type of operation, there are these conventions or networking meetings for the cannabis industry, which we've been, where legitimate operators have alleged that those are being used as sort of a front for illicit sales. We're going to try and get some evidence of that. But once we have the evidence, because it's not a landlord situation, it's a venue that rents periodically, we can complain to the venue and we can complain to OCM. My view, if OCM gets, a series of formal letters as opposed to, sort of typical citizen complaints, and I'm not, suggesting there's anything wrong with typical citizen complaints, maybe we'll get greater attention to that.
Maury, we get sued often, and sometimes from those lawsuits, we're named as an additional person or entity, and they may sue the city for a sidewalk issue or other things, but we get named as well. Who represents, does the city represent the whole claim, or how do you deal with when you're like the third person that's also named?
By and large, it gets worked out before the litigation is filed. When we get claims of that nature, we inform the claimant or the claimant's law firm that they have the wrong party, that this is not a county sidewalk or county roadway or what have you. And the city would, they would just sue the correct entity. When they sue everybody in sight has to defend the lawsuit. Often it's just standing off to the side saying, hey, court, we're not part of this, dismiss us out of the case. And with both of those, we've been successful at avoiding being sued. I think I gave the numbers in December, but I think we've significantly knocked down our civil litigation caseload. As you know, they keep coming in, because there was one I circulated yesterday because I thought, in contrast with the typical notice of claim that you may get with an email, this is an individual who's a significant litigation risk, and who might be reaching out to legislators. And now that you've reminded me of that, I will remind you here, and I think I'll remind everybody next Tuesday, is when you get, when legislators receive an inquiry or a complaint that's, in particular, if it sounds like it's heading toward litigation, somebody's, thinks the county has breached a contract, has treated them poorly in their employment, et cetera, those types of things where it's like, I think we might get, or the county's been, snow plowing through my right of way, that you, of course, listen, but if you could refer those, to, without, commenting on the substance, refer them either to my office, or if it's an employment matter, to HR or my office, because sometimes in those situations, things that might seem innocuous get said that turn out to be admissions that are used against us in court.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes, Judith.
I have a question about juvenile detention. It sounds like there's two issues. One is that when we have a juvenile in an interview room, it's both unsatisfactory as a place for people to be, and it's expensive because we have to have 1 to 2 people in that room with the juvenile to ensure safety, I assume.
Yes.
If we address the satisfaction issue by having a room, say with a bed, that doesn't solve the financial problem, right? You still have to have 1 to 2 people there. So what is the?
Oh, but if we have a bed in a detention facility, that would be included. So in other words, we wouldn't have to send our own personnel to the detention facility.
So it's having a contract or something,
Right.
an agreement.
Right.
Okay.
But the availability of number one, the availability of beds is few and far between, number one. And number two, they're super expensive. And, when in neither respect are the numbers happy numbers, but the numbers are probably less, using conference rooms and overtime than having a bed available to the county, which would be several $100,000 a year. But that's an issue it's a perennial issue. It comes up when, not all of those remands are particularly difficult for the sheriff if it's a night or two, but sometimes it turns out to be a week or two. And sometimes the individuals are remanded to detention, to secure detention for a reason. And they're often, violent. Deputies have been injured doing that duty. So it's a difficult, complex issue that we have to keep working on.
Well, thank you, Maury, for that report and for the written detail as well. I'm going to just jump in real quickly on the New York State's Office of Cannabis. I tried for 4 months to reach somebody there and got nowhere. Emails, phone calls. I finally contacted Senator Webb's office, and they've been great trying to help me contact them. We have an issue in the town I live in, Newfield, and they're struggling to get the right person and to get responses. But I really appreciate Senator Webb's office for helping me through this system because I got farther with them. But really, either an understaffed or a poorly run outfit. I'm not sure which. So we're moving along here. Is there anybody here from the clerk's office or DMV? Oh, great.
Good morning, Rachel Graham, Deputy County Clerk. So our mission is to provide exceptional customer service for the public, be it at DMV or the county clerk's office, while generating revenue for the county in order to reduce the property tax burden. So as you can see from our proposed 2026 goals, we plan to just continue to do what we excel at and look for areas where we can make improvements. We have expanded our digital access to records and services. We continue to do more e-recording and e-filing each year. And we are also looking at search functionality, usability, and public awareness of our available electronic services, including a new fraud alert system. So that's something we just put out last month, where people can sign in on our website and sign up for a property fraud alert. So if anything gets filed on either a property or a name that they sign up for, they'll get an email or a text to let them know that something's been filed. DMV in 2025 had the Real ID deadline in May, so those lines were really long leading up to that with everybody rushing to get their Real ID and enhanced IDs, but those lines moved really quickly, so that the DMV team, props to them, they're really killing it down there. Starting February 1st, TSA is going to start fining folks who don't have Real ID or enhanced ID or their passport or a passport card for domestic travel. It's going to be a $45 fee. So we're just working with people still to make sure that they get those new IDs if they haven't, and if they don't, they can always take their passport book or their passport card with them to avoid that fee. Also looking to expand and strengthen shared services with our municipal partners, our towns and villages that we work with for records management, And one thing that we may need assistance from the Ledge with is restoring and advocating for our community-hosted naturalization ceremonies. In 2025, we held 3 ceremonies and welcomed 77 new citizens, but we don't have confirmation yet on any dates for 2026. We've reached out multiple times to our partners at USCIS, and we're not getting a response to confirm those dates. So not really sure what we're going to do next. May reach out to Anna Kellis's office again, like we did when we first got wind of local hosted naturalization ceremonies not happening. And then last on here, we have completing our digitization and public access to our public naturalization records. That's a grant that we got last year. And we're working with a vendor on getting the scanning part is done. They're working on the indexing part now. And then for our equity indicator, we're looking at equitable access to clerk's office services and records. And I just this morning got a report from our vendor on the data for the amount of logins on our public search site and the amount of searches done in the last year. So that will help us. That was like my missing piece to being able to get good data on our equity indicator. And so with that, we are also trying to figure out how to increase our engagement and response rates for customer service satisfaction surveys. We noticed we have over 76,000 logins in 2025 to our online record system, and over 238,000 searches were completed. We also did, because this is also for in-person customers, we did 927 passport applications in 2025, but for our customer satisfaction survey in 2025, we only got 13 responses on our survey. So we have QR codes at each public station where people come in to get waited on. There's a QR code on all receipts that we give out, and we have a link on our website to our customer survey. It is rather long since we added the equitable access piece. So I don't know if that is deterring folks or if they're just finding what they need and not bothering to fill out the survey. So that's where we're at with our equity indicator. I would like to announce that State DMV is upgrading their statewide computer system starting this month. And that's a really outdated system. Parts of it are like 50 years old. So it's a really needed upgrade, but it is gonna slow down service. All DMVs are closing early Friday, February 13th. Our office is gonna be closing at 1 p.m. It will remain closed Monday, which is President's Day, and Tuesday, February 16th, with a planned reopening for Wednesday, February 18th, provided that we receive the go-ahead from state DMV leadership and that the system is working well. So that is upcoming at the end of this week into next week. They are migrating about 30 million records to this new system. So we expect there to be some kinks, but eventually I think it'll be way better than what they're working with right now. And I think that's all I have. Open to any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Judith.
Does our local office have to be involved in that transition, or is it all managed by the state?
So the transition is managed by the state. Our office is doing lots of training on the new system, and I don't think there's a lot they need to do with the system upgrade. It's just learning the new system. And for a while, they'll be working with 2 different systems, because first they're upgrading all of the people pieces, so like all the IDs and and things. And then the next round, which I think comes next year, will be the vehicle side and all the vehicle registrations. So it's a two-phased move over to the new system. So they'll be using two different systems that will be talking to each other for a while. So it's just going to be a learning curve.
So does that mean that our staff have to work long hours over the holiday weekend to?
No,
Okay.
they'll be working their regular hours. Yep.
Thank you. I know you've been digitizing your records for the last decade, probably, a long time. Do you still have to digitize some paper copies? They still flow in? And
Oh, sure, yeah. Both civil and land records, we're taking paper for both.
Right. And as far as interaction with real estate transactions, what percentage of that is electronic these days?
Oh, we just looked at that, and
Just a ballpark. I'm not, you don't give me an exact number. I'm just curious if it's.
I want to say it's got to be over 50% now. But I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Right. Okay. Yes, Maureen.
Quick question. When you talked about the number of logins, are those unique logins or are they?
So there is I think it's just our staff right now that has unique logins. Otherwise, there's a button that just says login as guest. So
Right.
it's counting that also.
But does it count each one of them, or does, in other words, if the same IP address logs in 5,000 times, does that count as 5,000 logins or one login?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to ask our vendor that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious only because, like, when I'm working on stuff,
Yeah.
like I'll pull the same survey 20 times.
Sure. Yeah, I'll have to ask our vendor. We just got those numbers this morning, and I haven't really been able to look through them or ask any questions of them yet. So that's a question I'll ask them. Thank you.
No big, I mean, it's more idle curiosity.
Yeah, no, I'm curious too.
The state court system has been pushing for the clerk's office to leave the courthouse for 10 years anyways, or a long time. Are you excited about leaving there? And what value is there for the clerk's office and DMV to be together?
I'm not necessarily excited to move from the courthouse. I really like that space, and it's worked well for us. I think there are definitely advantages to having the clerk's office and DMV together, mostly just to get to know one another and understand more of what we all do. Because right now we're very separate. The only time we get together is if we do a training all together, which doesn't even happen once a year, or we do a holiday party together once a year. So at those parties, we play a lot of games of like getting to know each other because we don't all know each other. And there's been a lot of turnover at DMV over the last couple of years. So a lot of new folks to get to know. I am mostly concerned about losing space. But otherwise, we keep working on digitizing books, and hopefully we won't have a whole lot to move. We're going to go where we're told we're going, and we'll make the best of it.
Yeah, been there, yeah. Thank you. I've always had great experience with the clerk's office and DMV, and I'm sure most people probably have, and so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, or? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Next up is IT.
Good morning, everyone. Lauren Cottrell, IT Director. So I was thinking about how I would present what we do. We kind of have our fingers in everything. I did a presentation for GEO last year, so I'll just kind of do an overview or a small little blurb of what we did then. So Tompkins County IT, we support 20 buildings, including 2 data centers, a backup dispatch center. We have about 80 virtual and physical servers and over 3,000 endpoints. The endpoints include computers, cameras, phones, door access control, copiers, printers, Wi-Fi access points, Internet of Things devices, mobile devices, which have a lot to do with public safety. And feel free to interrupt me as I go through this. We support about, these were last year's numbers, there was about 816 county employees. We also support the municipalities and agencies through shared services initiatives. So we have about 507 public safety users, including police from other, police and ambulance and fire trucks from other municipalities. We also support a countywide Laserfish platform for records retention, and that has about 165 users outside of our Tompkins County. We also support the Health Consortium in Soil and Water. So when you tally up all those users, we're about 1,500 users. Our department consists of about 15 employees. We've got 2 vacancies we're working on filling right now. We have lots of different projects going on. You know, a few of them are relocating departments, Dutch Mill, you know, Office of the Aging, Assessment, Board of Elections, and then we've got a couple other ones in the queue. We're helping departments migrating and upgrading applications. HR, Assessment, Whole Health, and Finance are on the front burner at the moment. We also do all the procurement when it comes to computers. We're starting to take over the countywide cell phones as well, and managing those through our department. Very involved in the center of government as far as technology and design. We're still moving our data center from our old building to our new building. We're really close. We've got the generator left to onboard, and then we'll be ready to migrate our data center. Before, when I did the presentation to Geo, it was under executive session. We do have a lot of protected critical infrastructure that we really can't talk about in public meetings. So happy to always take questions, but sometimes we can't really dive into the weeds in an open session. So happy to do another executive session and really, talk about anything you'd like. Veronica has actually recently, at the end of last year, came into our office and kind of shadowed us for a day, which was, I think, very useful. I know Greg has sat in on the executive presentation, so he could certainly probably help answer any questions, but feel free to reach out to me at any time, or if there's any questions today I can answer, I'd be happy to do so.
Any questions for anybody? Judith, you're going to take over my title of the most questions, and that's okay.
Maybe I'll run out eventually. What people qualify for county cellular devices?
Normally people that are on call, so some department heads. I think our cleaners have cell phones because they're navigating within buildings. Our people that go out into the field, highway guys, gals, our whole health workers that are outreach workers or nurses that go into the field. So there's quite a few.
And you said you're moving the data center from an old building to a new building. What is the old building and what is the new building?
Yeah, so building C, which is slotted to be deconstructed, and then we'll be moving the new data center in the old jail.
On software that the county is continuing to upgrade, what involvement does IT have, and who does the evaluation of the software, and is it a team, or how does that work?
Yeah, great question. We are typically involved in the evaluation process, county or the departments usually reach out to us. A lot of times it's a matter of just looking at either staying with the existing software, going to the latest version, or perhaps evaluating other software to see if it's any better, if it suits their needs in a better way, see if we can afford it. And the 3 or 4 that we're involved in right now, there's a trend of potentially going from on-prem to cloud, and there's things that we help with like single sign-on. Single sign-on is using your network credentials and being able to log into a cloud application using your same credentials. So we do these APIs and keys and make all that magic work. And then we're usually through the whole process in case there's any other IT involvement, and we're there as much as they need us.
Another thing that's come up, and you're taking on cell phones, is through door radios for first responders. And I know there's been some upgrades on those. Are you involved in the radio system, or is that separate?
That is separate. We work with Chris and Eldon up at Emergency Response and support them in any way, but typically they handle all the radio network. We do a lot for public safety. They have a lot of integrations with different municipalities, like the fire department, and there's a lot to that system. I mean, we could spend a whole session on IT and emergency response, but we work very closely with emergency. We meet with them bi-weekly and go over all the projects that we have going, and connectivity with the city and IPD. So there's a lot in that world.
Thank you. Yep. Greg, do you have a question?
Sorry, my mouse just died, so I had to quickly take all the papers off my laptop. Quick question, Lauren, and this is something that we've talked about before briefly, but as there continues to be conversations around data centers and the use of data centers and their impact and pros and cons, and I don't necessarily want to get into that debate here, but I know that in the town of Dryden, they're putting a essentially no data center policy in place, and I know New York State is looking at a no data center policy. And I know that the term data center means different things based on if it's web hosting or server, if it's doing a high rate of computing, like AI or mining for crypto. I would just be curious to understand, because I fear a bit of NIMBYism in, we don't want these type of things in our area, but we still want the products and services that maybe these type of centers may provide. And I would be curious to know at some point throughout this year, what type of interaction county systems and services have with, large computing data centers, the county use of AI, because I fear if we make county statements out of one side of our legislative mouth, and then we use systems within sort of the purview of government operations that are supported by the things that we're voting against, that we're a little hypocritical. And I just want to try to help understand for myself and then for my colleagues where we sort of land as a county in the use of all of this. I don't know if that question makes sense, but it's something that I would like to explore in this committee, maybe over the next several months as this continues to become a hot topic.
Yeah, great question. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg, to be honest, right now. And I think it's, as a county, it's what we're going to embrace. Things like AI, of course, is it can be used in anything. It could be used in budgeting and forecasting and automated phone calls to, for DSS. I mean, we're looking at all sorts of things right now. And, Kim, who, my deputy director, is on the New York State IT AI Steering Committee at the state level. So she's very involved with the associations of counties, and so she'll bring a lot to this conversation as well.
Thank you.
Yes, Judith.
Just want to take a moment to express my reservations about this this idea that we are going to be embracing AI in all of these fields. I think there's a lot of potential pitfalls. I've seen them in academia. The use of AI does not, in many cases, lead to better outcomes. In many cases, it leads to outcomes that are untrustworthy. So we have to be very careful, I think, if we are going to adopt AI into different spaces, that it actually is serving our needs across all the different levels, because it's not just about whether we're aligning with data centers or not. It's really about, does it help the community, or does it actually harm the community? And I think that there are possibilities on both sides. We do have to have an open mind. There are potential cost savings, but it's not an easy decision. I think we need to take it very seriously.
And just to reply to that, I think that Kim being at the state level and looking at projects across the state and what have been successful in government, I think will bring a lot to that conversation.
Any other questions for Lauren? Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll talk about whether we want an executive session to be more informed at a later date. I think that's it for all the departments. I want to thank everybody for coming and filling us in. At our next committee meeting, I think we'll set our goals based on what we've heard here, and when we do that, we're still going to want feedback from the departments to make sure we stay on course. So, and I think, are we on to the 2025 year-end strategic operations plan status report? Great.
Yeah. Thank you. So just briefly, I know we're coming up on time here. As I alluded to in the overview of the county administration goals, on a semi-regular basis, we do compile the updates on each of the objectives as to where we're at in reaching those objectives outlined in the strategic plan. So we compile them and put them in this format. So this is your summary report as to where we stood at the end of calendar year 2025. So we do provide this report through the Government Operations Committee. I do then share it to all legislators in an email following this, and I encourage legislators to use the report itself to ask questions in specific program committees of those departments that are specified in their report. So that's typically how we've done this report. I'd be open to any questions or comments as we look to ensure the strategic plan continues to be at the forefront of our planning.
Thank you, Bridget. I would encourage everybody to read that strategic operations plan. It involved all departments, many legislators. We had numerous meetings on it and reviews, and so that really is what we ended up with. So I would encourage each legislator to read that. And quite often our budgeting should follow most of those plans. So please do read that. We have a few resolutions still to go here. The first resolution is authorizing a budget adjustment to recognize New York State Assistance Program funding for aquatic program support in the city of Ithaca ID 13783. And can I get somebody to move that? Judith, second by Adam. Any discussion or questions? Yes, go ahead, Adam.
I have two. The first is I noticed in the revised version, there's a pretty big difference between the numbers. So I'm wondering how that miscalculation occurred or what happened. And I'm also wondering what specific programs the city used this grant for.
So I can address both of those, if that's okay. Okay, great. So this is, as noted in the resolution, this is primarily pass-through funding. So state funding provided to individual municipalities that passed through counties. So in regards to your first question, the award originally allotted to us by New York State, or to the city of Ithaca by New York State, was the $35,000 amount. However, the city of Ithaca only expended $10,000, which is why we're revising the budget adjustment here so that we can reflect the accurate amount that will be coming to us via a reimbursement from New York State. And then to your second question, the city of Ithaca primarily used this funding to expand hours of the Cass Park pool and to increase training provided to their lifeguards.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Judith.
Thanks. I know this is not the only way, I'm pretty sure this is not the only, that the city is not the only recipient of this money in the county, because last year there was an announcement that TC3 was going to offer free swimming lessons for children through this new state program. Unfortunately, when I wrote to them to try to sign my children up, I never got a response. So one of my comments is it's a little disappointing that this money was available but then was not actually spent, because I know there's quite a lot of need for more swim classes and more swim training and more lifeguards in the city and beyond in the county. And I'm wondering what we can do to try to make sure, if this is an ongoing program, that it's actually taken advantage of.
Sure. I can just say that this funding, when it was rolled out, I believe in 2024, was done through the counties. And then the year after that, it was made into an application. So it may be that TC3 directly applied for it in the year following this. They no longer do it through the counties anymore. I think they recognized it was an inefficient way to get the funding out. So to your point, I think we should be encouraging all municipalities and entities to apply directly for that funding.
And I believe that Governor Hochul announced a new swimming plan strategy to increase the number of people learning to swim. So yeah, that makes good sense.
Randy, just point of information, did we move the revised version or the original?
We move the original, to be correct?
I believe you did move the original, but you can accept the revised version just as a friendly amendment if you'd like.
Because we did the amendment yesterday in the budget.
It was done in BCP. The dollar amount was changed yesterday, yes.
Okay. So what's the exact process we have to do here?
You can just move the revised version and ask if there's any objections.
Okay, we're going to move the revised version from the BCP committee. Any issues with that? Okay, do we need to vote on that or just vote on the whole thing?
You can just vote on the whole thing.
Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Randy Brown?
Yes.
Judith Hubbard?
Yes.
Greg Mezey?
Yes.
Adam Vinson?
Yes.
Dan Wakeman?
Yes.
Okay, we have another resolution. This is a resolution to update the Administrative Policy Manual Policy 05-16, Accounts Receivable Claims, ID number 13809, and this went through the Budget and Capital meeting yesterday as well. And do you want to speak to that, Daryl? Well, actually, let's get on the table first. Can I get somebody to move that? Judith, and second by Dan?
Yep.
And this is for the accounts receivable? Okay.
Yeah, it's the administrative policy for accounts receivable claims, right?
Okay. This is actually a new policy for Tompkins County. It was something requested by the legislature, but also it was very much needed. There is no guidance or clear dates or what needs to happen when it comes to departments when submitting claims or any type of invoice. As I mentioned claims, I'm talking more about state and federal claims. We spend down, we have expenditures and invoices, and then we submit claims to the state or federal level to get reimbursed if there's grants or aid available. But this also applies to just invoices we send out for other services that we provide. Across the board, some departments have their claims signed by their fiscal person there. Others have it signed by me and my department or a representative of my department, which provides a good way to catch that information because all the fiscal information starts at the departments and has to come to my department in order to be reviewed, put into the system, and for me and my department to do what we need to do, which is the financial reporting at the end of the year. This policy lays out some guidelines of how many days they should submit it to my department, how often it needs to be, and we settled on at least quarterly, if not more. This also sets it up for my department to submit at least an annual aging, which will show you all the receivables that we have and how old they are, based on like 30, 60, 90 days or more, depending on each one. And also it requires that we submit anything that we write off receivable-wise, which has not been required previously.
Any questions from anybody? Go ahead, Joseph.
Thank you. I'm looking at the fund balance targets, which is section 2, and it says that the general fund target is 25%, airport fund 16 to 20%, and so on. I'm wondering whether our fund balances meet those targets, because then I'm seeing over here on section 3, instructions for what we're supposed to do if we are 3% or more below the targets. Are we 3% or more below the targets? And if so, how long have we been so, and are we following those policies?
Actually, that's the next resolution. But those are good questions, and save them. So this is the accounts receivable claim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was looking at the wrong one.
This went through BCP as well. And the reason we discussed this was because we want to bring some consistency on how we do receivables and how finance recognizes them in a timely fashion.
In addition, sometimes it can take a long time for information from the departments to get to mine, depending on the situation, and this kind of provides a good guidance of how long they should. There are exceptions to each one that can be made, but at least at the very least they would have to provide some type of estimate or at least communicate to my department so that I can better represent our financials if needed, but also communicate to you.
Yeah, I'm glad you did this and brought it forward, so thank you. Yes, Dan?
Just curious, who wrote the policy and who had input? Was that you?
I did provide some input. I believe this was done by the prior Director of Finance, Lori Scarrett. She, if I'm not mistaken, founded on, we have many groups we communicate to, and it was from another county at some point, and we added to it, kind of tweaked it. It also was presented to county administration and all the other departments.
Perfect. I just wanted to hear how that cooked.
And I actually anticipate probably some more adjustments maybe in the next year or so, just because once we put it into practice,
depending how it works out. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The issue is that we have separate finance systems in various departments, so the finance may not understand what receivables are out there till a later date. So this will help speed and clean that process up, and I think we will probably learn as we go along with that.
In some cases, we're not, the finance department's not aware until the cash comes in, which is okay depending on when it comes in, but it becomes, so we have to report our financial reports on a modified accrual basis. So depending on when it comes in, we have to report the revenue based on the year that it's earned. So if we wait for the cash to come in, that can make it difficult depending on when we find that out.
Any other questions on that one? Okay, let's do a roll call.
Randy Brown?
Yes.
Judith Hubbard?
Yes.
Greg Mezey?
Yes.
Adam Vinson?
Yes.
Dan Wakeman?
Yes.
Okay, now we're moving on to a resolution to update the administrative policy policy manual, policy 05-04, fund balances. And can I get somebody to move that? Judith, and seconded by Dan. And want to jump right into questions? Somebody want to speak to this, or? I'll speak to it quickly. So with the fund balance policy has been a big discussion over the last 3 or 4 years, and we did make adjustments in the last few years. At one time, our fund balance policy for our general fund was 15%. Then it went to 18%. We raised it to 25% in 2023. In my thought, the reason we did that is because we had a lot of funds at the time, and because of ARPA and other things. But so I'll let you jump right in with your questions.
Well, let me add one quick thing. So the biggest change in this policy for this time around is actually just an adjustment to a couple percentages. Mainly the road and highway machinery. It was lower. I proposed to increase it because a good portion of highway is CHIPS reimbursed, but it requires them to spend anywhere between $1 million to $2 million in a 4 or 5 month period. And so they need to have those funds available to spend first before they can get reimbursed. The second one was a debt service fund, and this is actually a new one. It wasn't listed there before. Now the debt service fund kind of holds our debt service and pays any debt that we, as a county as a whole, no matter the department or the function. Especially after going through this year, I want to say about 2/5 of our debt service is due right away in the first 3 months. And then it's kind of strung out over the year. So I felt it would be necessary, or at least advantageous, for the county to have a good, healthy fund balance in there, because otherwise what has to happen is my department has to rush to make transfers if there were budgeted transfers, but also possibly borrow funds across each fund, which is what we do throughout the year. But the more we can reduce that, the less strain on my department, but also just allows for better operations and funds to stay around to earn interest if necessary, if helpful.
Judith, go ahead.
I'm curious because it sounds like the debt service fund is something where you know the money is just going out a little early and you're going to get it back later. Could you just use the general fund money to float those early payments?
We could, but that pulls it away from the general fund, and that general fund is also used to support every other fund, including highway. And what really happens is the general fund has to transfer those funds anyways, because it gets supported by whatever fund that the debt service is borrowed for. Just this way, there's no rush and needed to do it if we just maintain a policy that maintains a certain level of fund balance in the debt service.
Dan?
Thank you, Daryl. I see that there's a range on a couple of these, and I was curious as to why a range instead of a real number. My next question is related, and these are targets. Are these soft targets or hard targets? In other words, should they be limits?
So the ranges just kind of give us more options, and I kind of just followed suit when I added the new ones because there were some ranges already there. The general fund doesn't have a range, and that's just how it was started off. It can have a range if we want to talk about that, but we just left it as is. They are, I want to say, soft targets. We have to have a plan. It's at the end of the policy that states what we need to do if there is a deficiency. At least we need to talk and make a plan, and depending on the amount or how large the deficiency is, we have anywhere from a few years to 5 or 6.
I see, because it might vary depending on the climate or the year or something. Got it.
And it could be extremely difficult if you had to make up an 8% deficiency in one budget year. So this way it kind of spreads it out to reduce the impact on the county and the services that we provide.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, Judith.
To return to my out of order question, what are our current percentages, and have we been following the replenishing deficiencies procedure?
So it's a bit early for the percentages for 2025, but I can tell you from our audited 2024 financials, we were 7.4% deficient on the general fund. And there's been some loose talks, but no official plan that has been talked about. I believe that'll probably happen upcoming budget year. I should have some better figures as to where we land for the end of 2025, hopefully in the next month, as revenue and information from the departments come to my department. Takes a little while before it gets to my department because they have to wait for till they have all the information, which could be invoices that could take up to a month to get to them, and all the payroll information before they can even submit claims to their agencies if they're dependent or using grant funds. Now, I do not have the debt service one in front of me, but I do know that the solid waste, the CL was around 23% in 2024. The CT was around 15%. I did some quick numbers, and highway was about 24. Actually, the highway, I think, oh no, these are all, yep, as of 2024. Highway is 24.5.
I'd just like to make sure we all understand what we're supposed to do if we're 7.4% deficient as of 2024. Actually, we don't have instructions for 7.4 deficiencies. Our instructions only go up to 6% deficient. We're not supposed to reach more than 6%, I think. So that was not really anticipated. So at first we're supposed to try to stop having a deficiency by reducing our expenditures and increasing our taxes and fees. And then second, for deficiencies that are between 3 and 6%, we're supposed to fix it over the course of 5 years. But we are now more than 6%. So it seems like we've got a bit of a problem.
So there are some loose conversations and plans, and we do have some options. One is changing the way there is a vacancy factor that we use in determining budget that we could change that. And I know Norma from County Administration has talked about that. And there's some other options in it. I mean, part of this is due to the fact that the county has used fund balance to make their budgets work for a couple of years. Go ahead, Maury.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, Judith, there is a provision in the policy for over 6%, which is an 8-year program to, it's Part C. One thing I wanted to note in terms of, how we got to, how the county reached the point where it's at, 17 or 18% as opposed to 25%. There's kind of a long story about that and different schools of thought. If I were to guess, Legislator Mezey might have a fair amount to say about that, so maybe talk to him, because I won't reiterate those views other than he may refer to it as a self-inflicted wound, and that other legislators have a different view. And the reason the reason the self-inflicted wound issue comes up is because at the same time that the county adopted the 25% requirement, it also took $12 million out of fund balance and put it into various reserves. So I don't think that this policy can be looked at separately from the reserve policy.
Yeah, we talked about this in the budget and capital meeting yesterday as well. I think your points are well taken. One of the things that we learned early on in our first year of the legislature was that the county had a lot of accounts. And they still have a lot of accounts. And some of them there were reserves or extra funds in them, there whatever it was. And they kind of lost, in my mind, control of them. So that's been cleaned up a lot. And we had no definition of what was assigned, unassigned, and all these. So that's why these definitions are now in there to help us with that. And I know that we've looked a lot about our cash balances and our cash flows. And I think that all kind of fits together with this. We need fund balances when we struggle to have cash. I think that we're fine. I think last year, I think our lowest cash balance was $103 million. But they're allocated to various things, right? And sometimes it goes up and goes down. So we decided in the committee yesterday to not change any of these percentages, because I know it's all going to come before the full legislature once we get an update from county administration on where we are with these things. So, Greg, if you want to jump in on that or not, I don't know.
No, I would agree. We have some self-inflicted wounds we're healing from, and we've done a lot to get things cleaned up and more clearly defined. The one thing I've also learned is to kind of trust the process. And, you know, we ask the tough questions, we challenge the assumptions, and through the budget process and through our learnings, you know, we get a better understanding. I think we've got an incredibly strong finance department, which is, and county admin, which in my opinion has never been more transparent and on top of things than they are today. So in, you know, BCP, you know, I think we all sort of agreed to kind of leave things as is and move this policy through. And I would recommend that to this committee as well, because this is definitely an issue that a number of us are continually looking at and thinking about. But it's also something that if we are going to change, we should be deliberative and cautious and take a lot of time to change it, because it is a significant policy that impacts many things. Those were just my 2.5 cents.
Any more questions or comments? Did we get this on the table? Great. Can we have a roll call?
Are we voting on the amended?
So we're accepting it with the amendments? Okay.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
Greg Mezey,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes.
And all our audits are up to date. Throw that in.
Getting ready to work on the next one, so that one's up to date as well.
I see it's, we've run over our allotted time. If the only person I reached to is Monica, do you want to say anything, Monica, or do you want to wait till next time?
I yield my time.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else that wanted to, did we miss anything, Jordan? Okay. Any other comments by anybody? All right, then, Maury, go ahead.
Yeah, briefly, mostly for Greg's edification, but everybody's, our tax stabilization reserve legalization initiative is now complete. So we now have a legitimate tax stabilization reserve.
Great. And how much was in that account? 1.7 million, something like that? Or
2.3.
2.7 million, which is a story all by itself we won't go into now.
Yes. I lived it.
Thank you. We're adjourned. And thank you, everybody, for staying so long. Appreciate it.